Hey guys! Welcome back to Joshua's Japan channel, and today I have a very special guest. Please welcome Miyu! So, could you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, my name is Miyu. I grew up in Singapore from 1st grade to 12th grade.
Okay.
And I went to international school there.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I went to Canada, Vancouver for uni, spent there for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm back in Japan working.
Right.
Yeah.
So you are Japanese, right?
Yes, I'm fully Japanese.
Yeah. Why did they move to Singapore when you were 1st grade?
It's just my dad's job.
Okay.
His company is an American company, so
Okay.
he moved around quite a bit.
Right. You were in Japan till the age of 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you moved to Singapore, right? How was that experience?
I feel like I couldn't speak any English on my
Right.
first day,
Uh-huh.
but within like 3 months, I was like, oh, I speak English.
Right.
I'll teach it to another Japanese girl coming into my class. So
Uh,
I don't know, I was super confident, but when I look back at like something I wrote when I was in 1st grade, it's pretty shit.
it only took you 3 months to master English.
I was literally just copying what others were saying,
Mm-mm.
and it's 1st grade. Everything is very simple.
Yeah.
So 例えばなんかお菓子ちょうだいとかみんなで交換するときとか Can I have some? ってみんなが言ってて、I'll just say it and
Yeah.
like people give it to me and I'm like, oh,
It works. You understood me then.
that was literally everything I did.
Right,
Just
right.
copying other people. So I
Right.
never really like learned English.
Mm-mm. It was natural, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that was the same case for me because I came back from the States. I was like 5 or 6, and I just picked up the words and I just copy what people were saying, and I just learned.
Cool.
Not learned, but it was just came in naturally. So did you go to an international school in Singapore?
Yes, I went
So-
to a Canadian school.
You went to a Canadian school in Singapore, and how did that happen? Why did you go to a Canadian school?
So this is kind of funny. My dad, when he was in high school, he did like 1 month exchange in Vancouver. So he had like a homestay family there, like host family there. So I don't know, my dad really liked Canada from
Right,
that
right,
experience.
right.
So when we went to Singapore, there's so many international schools, like American school, Canadian school, British school, or Australian school. And my dad was like, okay, Canadian school. Because I like Canada, I've been to Canada.
Right.
So,
Very simple reason. but
Very
I love
simple.
that.
yeah.
So I heard that you're supposed to be Singaporean to be able to go to a local school.
Local citizens can't go to international school. But I don't know about
Oh,
the opposite.
local citizens can't go to international school.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I think. But the opposite of like international kids going to local school, maybe you can do that.
Why do you think that is? Like, why can't locals go to international school?
I don't know. Maybe like the education is very different.
Right.
So local schools, they make you learn Mandarin, Malay, very specific program. So maybe they want them to be educated like that, like Singaporean citizens to be educated like that.
Right. Did you have any other Japanese people in your class?
Yes, when I was in elementary school, there were at least like 2 to 3 Japanese people
Okay.
per class. So
Right.
it was like 20
Right.
in total.
And how
as a grade.
diverse was your class? Because I know how it's very diverse. Like,
Very multicultural. European, North American, Asian, 全部.
In Japan, if you go to Japanese school, you only
So
see
there.
Japanese
So
people,
there.
right? And I was kind of in that environment. But in
Yeah.
Singapore, like, it must be really, really multicultural.
So
And you spoke English at school, and you spoke Japanese at home,
yeah.
right? So, did you ever think about your identity? Did you ever question who you are as a person, or was it quite natural for you? Like, I'm Japanese, I'm from Japan, but my family lives in Singapore. I go to international school. Was that it, or did you ever like think, what's my life, or?
Never.
Never.
Not in Singapore. So the
Right.
thing is, when I was in Singapore, everyone from every background, they'll think that that's their home. That's like what's so good about Singapore, right? Like everyone thinks that's their home because you don't feel excluded or you don't feel like you're the only one.
Right.
But when I came back to Japan and now I work at a company with all Japanese people, that's when I first like actually thought about, okay, what's my strongest background? Like
Right.
English, Japanese, or am I multicultural, or what am I? Like I didn't really know.
Right. So coming back to Japan made you question about your identity, I guess. I know you work in an international company, but that's based in Japan. So which makes it really domestic, right?
Very domestic,
So-
especially where I am.
Where you
yeah.
that is the sector where
So-
you are, right? So how's that experience? Because you tell your peers you're Japanese, but you actually grew up in Singapore. What's the reaction usually?
Their reactions are just very simple, like, "Oh wow, you speak English." When I say something, they're like, "Oh, インターナショナルなアイディアだ考えだねとか。There's something I say differently about what others think.
You
They
always
would
have
just
like
say-
opposing idea.
Soしたら they would just think that that's because I'm from a multicultural.
Right, because you're not from Japan.
So
How does that make you feel? Like, do
I'm like,
you?
not necessarily. 別に multicultural だからじゃなくて、
そうそう
that's what I
I
think.
think that's what
Not
you
really.
think.
It doesn't really come from my background.
Right,
It's just
right.
what I think.
It's
but
just an opinion of an individual.
そうそうそう。
Jump. And if you have like an opposing idea, like people are like, oh, you think differently because you're not Japanese, or like, oh, すごい. That's a very international way of thinking it. And so they kind of put you in this box,
そうそうそう。
saying like, oh, you're different from us. っていうでも
So
you are Japanese, right?
I
Like,
try not to think too much about how I think
mm,
or how they think differently. How I don't know. Like never really thought about it too much.
right.
But in terms of language, there's so much I have to say about
Right.
because なんか it's very difficult. I never thought that I would ever have a problem speaking a language
Right.
anywhere because I speak both Japanese and English, and I thought I mastered both.
Right, right, right.
でもね、once I joined this company, I'm like, what's my first language? Is
Right.
it English or
So
Japanese?
what is your first language then? What would you say?
I would say Japanese
Okay.
because I learned that first,
Right.
and it comes first to my mind, right?
Right,
when
right.
I try to think. I studied in English all my life.
Mm.
All my education were in English.
Mm.
So sometimes when I have to do like a presentation or talk to someone at a business situation, then I'm like, 日本語下手かもしれない。
どうやって言うんだっけみたいな。
あれ
なんかさ、
なんて言うみたいな。
how do you think about like using 敬語 and all that? Is that difficult for you?
Yes,
Yeah.
very difficult. First,
Must
I
be.
thought I can speak 敬語。ですますなんとか
Mm.
いただくとか I don't know. I thought I could say it,
Mm-mm.
but there's so many layers,
Mm.
and it's so difficult once it comes to like talking to 誰かの社長。
はいはいはい。例えば。
何々さん来てますか？私だったら今まで来てますって言ってたの。
うん
でもみんないらっしゃってます。いらっしゃいます。I know those words exist, but it doesn't come up to
Right.
me naturally. Like
Right.
it doesn't smooth に出てこない。
はいはいはい。だって because
そう
you've never been in that situation
そう
either, right?
そう。And those things add up, and people think I'm not really good at Japanese.
Right,
At
right, right. Or people might think you're impolite.
そうだね。
うん
ちょっとプロフェッショナルじゃない。
So how do you think about that? Like being called a 帰国子女 in Japan, and なんかどう？
Never really thought about it too seriously.
うん。
So I don't take anything too personal
Mhm.
when someone says it. I'm just like, yes, I am.
Yeah, it is a fact.
いや、でもone thing もう一個だけ something I was like んって思ったのは、入試とか大学の入試とか会社に入るとき there's a 帰国子女枠。
あるね。うん。
And everyone in Japan, or like, okay, few people in Japan I've talked to, they were like, 帰国子女枠簡単だからいいよね。And I was like, okay, 帰国子女枠簡単ではないかな、みたいな。Yes, it's a different procedure, but you have to do so good in high school, like the entire high school.
Right.
You have to have a specific grade to get in. So if you
SAT
slack
と
off,
か？
IB だったんだけど、それをすごいちゃんと勉強して、
うん。
トータルスコアでアプライするから。
大学側もそれをやってるって分かってるから
そうそうそうそう。
入りやすくなってんだよ。
そう
それを持ってる。
そう。
You don't know your struggle of going to an international school in Singapore, right?
そうそうそう
親はシンガポール超気に入ってたの。
超気に入ってた。
うんうん。
We even got PR there,
Right.
permanent resident.
Right.
Yeah, that's how much we all loved it because that's also because Singapore is super multicultural and everyone speaks different languages. And my mom never struggled speaking only Japanese.
Right, because there was a community there. Right?
It's not because my mom was hanging out with Japanese people.
Right. You
It's
can,
because everyone tries to understand my mom speaking English.
Right.
Or なんか共通の趣味のヨガとかで、she just makes friends. But language wise, なんか language 微妙でも she makes friends.
まあなんかみんなそれぞれ
そう
違うからってことでしょ。
そう No one's English is perfect. まあ一部は。そうだからなんかまあ comfortable だったみたい。
So you were in Singapore until high school, and then you went to Canada, right? From there. So how was that experience? So it was your first time living in an English-speaking country. While you were studying in English your whole life, but you were in Singapore, right? So how do people view you in Canada?
Well, people just view me as an Asian person who can speak English.
Yeah, of course.
Not more than that.
Yeah. So how would you explain yourself when you meet people?
So when I meet new people at a party or somewhere, I'll just say, hi, I'm from Singapore. I'll just like cut out the part that I'm actually nationality-wise Japanese.
Right. And you have Japanese parents.
So それは I'll just cut that out.
I mean, because in Singapore, anybody could be from Singapore, right? Like, when would you tell people that you're actually Japanese?
If I have something common with them, like that they're also half Japanese, or like if they are Japanese, then obviously I speak Japanese to them, so they know I'm Japanese.
Right.
But waza I wouldn't just go put that in my introduction.
Right. Because when I talk to my other friend, Japanese friend that grew up in Japan but only went to international school, she also went to university in Vancouver. She sometimes said that she would just say she's from another country because she had a specific reaction from specific people that when she tells them that she's Japanese, she gets like a really interesting reaction. People kind of have this excitement to know that she's Japanese. Did you ever experience that?
A specific reaction I got is like, one is only have an English to got Canadian background or American background with no knowledge about Asia, then they kind of have a stereotype like kawaii, anime, blah blah, and that they'll kind of like say that as soon as they know that I'm Japanese.
Right.
Like, do you like anime?
So, was it easier just saying you're Singaporean?
Yeah,
right.
I think so. I feel like I fit in more to Singapore culture than Japanese culture.
Yeah, definitely.
So
you're from there.
So like when someone talks about Singapore, then I'm very comfortable. But in like Nihon no, when they're like, so do you like anime? Do you like this? Do you like that? Sushi? I'm like, hi, ma.
Yeah, sure. So why did you decide to work in Japan?
So when I first started looking for a job, I was thinking trying to get a job in Canada or Singapore first. I was thinking, what's my special skills other than speaking English?
Right.
If you're doing job hunting in Japan, then you can say, I'm Japanese, but I grew up in Singapore or Canada. I speak English, I have diverse background, so open-minded. It's something you can talk about as a skill, but when you're in Canada, that's very difficult. I was like, I actually have no skills other than that.
Right.
まあ普通に勉強とか I had specialties that I was studying in, but it's not something I was super strong in. So それ考えた時に okay, maybe I should go back to Japan and
because English becomes a very strong skill.
So
yeah.
It was very simple, like it was a better, like easier entry to go get a job.
Right. Like growing up in Singapore, how often did you go back to Japan?
Once a year at least.
Right. So you have relatives in Japan, of course, right? So how did they view you?
Oh, これ結構面白い because I told you my parents' family are from 田舎.
Very.
So
だって
they-
静岡と鳥取でしょ
鳥取
鳥取で、
日本で
I've even never been to 鳥取。
日本で一番人口少ない。
一番人口少ないよね。
そう。うちのおばあちゃんとか relatives think I'm very crazy. もう中学生からピアス開いてる金髪、足全部出てるファッションとかで they're like, wow, ちょっとなんか違うね。They think this is all because I grew up abroad. One thing I got from my relatives recently はなんか社会人になってまともになったね。So I'm like まともっ って何
そ
その時は髪ちょっと暗くてそんなに冬だから露出してなかっただけなんだけど、社会人になって日本にブレンドしてまともになったね was their comment.
Right. So
So
in order for a human being to be a matomo person, they have to be from Japan ってなっちゃうじゃん。そのロジックでいくと。
それがちょっとね違和感。
なんか絶対面白いだろうね。Like looking at you growing up in Singapore and coming back once in a while.
そうだね。
They must have been like, wow.
そう
What did Singapore do to you?
静岡の方のいとこは、結構ポジティブに見てくれてて、なんか she even came to Canada to visit me.
Wow, nice.
And we went to Thailand together.
Wow.
And she started learning English in uni. That was her major.
So maybe you inspired her.
She also said I inspired her a little bit to be a little more international. 全然関係ないけど、そのみんながその派手とかね、思われる時に、海外で育ったからっていうのとは別に私的にはママも言ってるんだけど、正直海外じゃなくて日本で育ってても同じになってたと思うよ。なぜかというと考え方がギャルだからって言われる。
でもね、
考えギャルだから。
It always boils down to that. Actually, これは is it because of the environment I was in, or is it me?
それが多いと思う。
になるの。いつもこのディスカッションになるの。
そう。Nature or nurture っていう、
ね。Nature or nurture. Like, it always comes down to that. So, thank you for joining me today, Miyu. Do you want to advertise anything or? ない。なんもないです。じゃあ、thank you for joining me today, and thank you for watching, guys. If you like my video, please give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment, and please go follow my Instagram if you're interested in my life as well. So, thank you for watching. Bye bye.